Hello, everybody, and welcome to Season 4 of SailGP. We have reached event number 12. This is the Mubadala New York Sail Grand Prix. That is Stevie Morrison. That is Emily Nagel. I'm Todd Harris as we get you ready for the racing. 2 days of racing on the Hudson River in a very iconic venue just off the southern tip of Manhattan. We haven't been there since Season 1, Emily. You were there. It's going to be a little bit different, though.
Yeah, really different from Season 1. So most notably, racecourse is in a different position, which personally I think is a huge gain.
Yep.
Previously, it was further up the river, like right in between Jersey and the city, which meant the breeze was coming over the skyscrapers. It was hectic out there. And from that, the British team did capsize when we were there. Again, like freak gust, like all over the place, really hard to predict. And it made it quite a mission that weekend, getting the boat ready to race. But this time, further down the river, you got Statue of Liberty in the background, which is epic. Governor Island with the grandstand, but then because you've got the two converging rivers, you've got some tide lines coming across the course. It adds that extra tactical element, which I think is going to be really interesting to watch.
Flash forward 3 years, Stevie. Things have changed quite a bit. Back then, Nathan Outridge was sailing for, I believe it was Japan SailGP. There was a team from China in there. Those teams are no longer with us. Nathan Outridge is still with us, as is Phil Robertson. How much has SailGP changed since the last time we were in New York City to this return visit?
Oh, it's almost unrecognisable, really, to be perfectly honest with you. I mean, of course, there was 6 boats in that first season, 4 events. We've got 13 events this season, have we? And we've got 10 boats. And we had some amazing news today, haven't we? That there's now a Brazilian team.
The Mubadala Brazil Sail Grand Prix team is coming on for season number 5. That'll be exciting. Let's focus on this event. How do you think it's going to play out? The conditions similar to what we saw in Halifax just a few weeks ago?
Very, very different. There's always a saying in sailing that is, it's never normally like this here. Because whenever you get anywhere, it doesn't give you the conditions the locals would tell you is normal. Well, practice day today, we've had, touch wood, I touched my own head because Emily's clever, we've had the conditions we're expecting. The forecast, fingers crossed, is good. So there's an awful lot of superstition going on in this commentary booth right now. But right now, the conditions are really good. The wind's steady. There's current on the course, which is bringing a factor into it. There's the Governor's Island, which will be on the left-hand side of the course looking upwind, which is going to give a bit of a wind shadow. It affects the tide current for better and for worse. But yeah, I think it's going to be much more of an accuracy at the start kind of racetrack. There was opportunities for a lot of overtakes in Halifax. There'll be less of those. It's going to be light to medium. Kind of pretty good news for the Spanish. And without being too much of a spoiler, the Australian boat looked like it was working again.
I was just going to say, let's play a game. True or false? Most of the pressure will be on the Australians this weekend.
False.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, the pressure's on, but they are also the Aussies. I think pressure is mostly going to be on the French and the Danish because they are right on that edge of just knocking a team out. And, particularly for the French and the Spanish as well, we have heard that one of those teams, or the Canadians, might get the bump at the end of the season to make room for the new teams. So pressure is on for them to be making the final, to be impressing sponsors, and to try and, if the higher you up on the leaderboard, the harder it's going to be to get cut.
Yeah. I think as well, Todd, I'd reframe your question as well. Pressure on Australia. I mean, I'm inclined to agree with Emily in the fact that, if you're going to start a race, would you rather start that race 6 points or 60 metres ahead of someone and be out in front with them chasing you? Or would you want to be back where you're relying on them making a mistake? Australia kind of know that if we go out and do our thing, we're all good. France can go out and sail really well, but if Australia just matches them, it's not enough, is it? So I kind of feel the pressure is on France and Rottwell Denmark to make things happen. Doesn't mean that people out in front don't look over their shoulder.
Sure.
So I think Slingsby's got to keep eyes forward and keep trying to, sail well.
I guess what I meant to say was, is this a new role for Tom Slingsby? Because they've always been the hunted, and now they're the hunters.
Yes and no. I think we really have to look at what has put Australia in this position. They haven't ended up in third from sailing poorly this season. They've sailed incredibly for most of this season. They've just had a few incidents. They got put in the naughty corner, got some penalty points, and that's really affected them. Like, if that penalty wasn't there, they wouldn't be in this scenario.
All right, well, let's just get right to it. Stevie, predictions. Give me your podium. Who makes it into the event final and who gets the win?
Well, I've got a slight advantage of we saw the racing today.
Yeah, that's okay.
And Slingsby was on fire. He's clearly fired up. He's clearly sailing very well. That gets Australia in. Burling still is able to turn a disastrous start into a good finish at the end, which is a unique skill. So I still petrified for the day that he actually gets off the start line accurately. And then the battle for third. Wow. I mean, if you went off today, Switzerland, they've got Francois Morvan back on the flight control. Mm-hmm. He's coming. He was with the French team in their very successful season 3. So, Francois has got a lot of experience. They look like they were sailing quite smoothly today. Nathan won last time we were here. Nathan, yes, Nathan's still here, but Nathan needs a job next year.
Yeah.
So you've got to kind of put yourself in the shot window.
So you're hedging on that third team.
I'm going to drop it on Switzerland. Yeah.
So you got New Zealand?
Well, because I'm
Australia?
always boring, aren't I? I know, all your faces have just blown up. But I'm going to go...
Switzerland winning the whole thing?
No, I've got them in the final.
Oh, in the final.
Yeah, I don't think anyone beats... I think if the Spanish get to the final, they can win. But I still see them having inconsistencies. They're fast when they're in space. They're not as good at overtaking people. Australia and New Zealand can turn a bad one into an okay one. That's their unique strength over the rest of the fleet. Spain, if they're doing well, stay doing well. They're fast.
All right, the floor is yours.
I'm going to be the boring one then if Stevie's not. So, I think Australia are going to make that final this time. As you say, they've got a little bit to prove, but I think with the space on this course, they've got that room to really stretch their legs, not be in the super close boat-on-boat situations and just send it. The Kiwis, again, these scenarios really play to their advantage of they're always sailing less distance and just getting their way through the fleet. But then I'm going with Spain.
So you've got Spain, New Zealand, Australia in the final. Who wins?
No, I don't bet.
Oh, stop.
I'll give you... I'm going to go... I think New Zealand.
You're going to win it?
Yeah, I think they're going to win it. And I think maybe a better incident should be who's going to have the better Instagram post out of United States and Canada.
Goodness.
Because that blew up in the press conference today, and now we're in New York. USA team had a sort of a more encouraging race or two today out there, which was great to see for them. Phil Robertson, I mean, he's always got a quick response. I mean, I do love watching Phil in these press conferences and interviews. He's just such a brilliant character. But it's almost starting to get a little bit,
little spicy.
Little spicy. And I think there's maybe a bit more feeling in there than perhaps the Instagram post would give off. So maybe we need a separate competition for Canada, USA.
Yeah. The media team showdown.
What you guys would call a World Series, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I think you can't go wrong, though, with New Zealand, Spain, and Australia. But I really think France and Rockwell, Denmark, by the time we get to Sunday, they're going to be really feeling the pressure. And it's going to be, we've seen Continental Delapierre send it before in places that he probably shouldn't send it in. I think he might do it again here.
Yeah, I feel like it. I feel like it's we talk about it a little bit in the practice, but the rules are the rules for the penalty are set to keep the racing tight. So if you infringe, you don't get too big a penalty. But I think what that does is it makes you take the risky decision. It makes you push the rules exactly because the penalty's just not big enough. And I think we've just seen at the last couple of events a few too many incidents where basically he thinks he can get across. Well, he doesn't. He's pushed his luck as to whether he can get across. If there was a bigger penalty, you would definitely go behind or you would manoeuvre out the way, which is going to really cost you a lot of distance on the race course. He's pushing his luck. And I just think it's something something SailGP needs to do because he's only playing the rules, But I think it's something SailGP needs to think about.
I'll give you the final word.
I do think it's interesting that you think it's worth the risk in that instance just because they are on the edge of making that final race and penalty points. They can say goodbye to the grand final.
Well, we will see how it all plays out. Remember, it's Saturday and Sunday, 2 days of racing as SailGP returns to New York City for the Mubadala New York Sail Grand Prix. For Stevie Morrison and Emily Nagel, I'm Todd Harris. We will see you there.